Should the Raptors trade Pascal Siakam for Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins? Welcome back to the Raptors NBA podcast. We are your hosts, Alex Drobin and Andy Redding. We have a lot to get to today. We're going to start off with what's happening with the Raptors, that horrible Knicks loss, the trade rumors. Then we'll get into the in-season tournament, which has actually been incredible. And then we'll talk about a couple of other things at the end. So first off, Andy and I went to the game against the Knicks on Thursday. Or when was it?
Thursday. Friday.
Seemed like we had no chance the entire game. Knicks blew us out. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the vibes were down. The vibes were bad. Just like it was sold out technically, but we noticed a lot of the seats were empty. A lot of guys showing up late. On a Friday night, fans just weren't into it. The Knicks fans were louder. A lot of Knicks fans around us at the game. They were showing out. Good fan base. Good for them. Yeah, that was ugly.
Great fan base. There were a few dudes in front of us who were just like going off the entire game. We had a couple that was right beside us that actually made the trip to Toronto, which we don't see too often. It doesn't seem like too many opposing fans come to the Scotiabank Arena to watch their team play. But since New York is so close, for all of you guys that are watching in the States, New York is like literally an hour flight from Toronto. So there were a lot of Knicks fans, and it was great for them, for their side. And then I wanted to just touch on Jalen Brunson for a second, because he's like going off. He's averaging 25 points a game, 3.7 rebounds, 5.5 assists. And it seemed like he was the best player on the court the entire game, hitting timely threes, playing great defense, getting into the paint, nice little dimes. Jalen Brunson's the one.
Knicks fans beside us, we asked them who their most valuable player is, and they without hesitation, Jalen Brunson. I asked you a question during that game. Would the Mavs be better off with Jalen Brunson instead of Kyrie? And you said no. You still sure about that?
It's a tough question, because I think Jalen Brunson was, first of all, he was never going to stay there because of all of his connections to New York. But secondly, I think that Kyrie is playing really well as well. And Jalen Brunson wanted to take that step forward. So I don't know how long that thing would have lasted over there. So I understand what you're saying. And he was great on the Mavs, but I think Kyrie's disgusting over there, man. Those guys take turns. Kyrie's nasty. So I think that's a toss-up question. But I think he's better off on the Knicks. Just quickly, also, we had a parlay going, an in-game parlay for 3 things to hit. Andy, do you remember what they were?
Scotty and Pascal over 20 points, and then RJ Barrett over 18, I think.
Yeah. So we got to Scotty and Pascal being over 20 with like a couple minutes left in the third. And then RJ Barrett, he had to get over 17.5. We put down $50 and it was like plus 800. And he only got to 15 points. Where it's weird, RJ's back home. He's back in Canada. And for everyone knows, he's from Mississauga. He's from around Toronto. We thought he was going to get that over, but barely missed it.
He didn't get much crunch time minutes either. He was on the bench for a lot of it too.
You know what? We don't even want to talk about this game too much, because the Raptors are once again so mediocre, which leads us to our next point. Bill Simmons, the pod GOAT, came on his podcast and said the other day that, he has his trade rumors going on. He had his trade machine going. He basically said that a trade from the Raptors to the Warriors, where Pascal will be going to the Warriors, and in return, we'd be getting Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga. What are your thoughts, Andy?
Well, let's not give Bill Simmons too much credit. Let's remember our last podcast on Thursday, before the Bill Simmons podcast came out. Yours truly floated the Warriors as a landing spot for Pascal Siakam.
You actually did say that first. You were first. So, maybe he listened to our podcast and then he copied you.
Stop stealing our trade machine ideas. Pascal for Wiggins plus Kuminga.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, right? Are we the thought is that Golden State's willing to give up Kuminga because they don't think he's a dude. Are we willing to think he's a dude?
It's tough because I've been watching a lot of Warriors games this year, and it seems like he's a little bit lost out there. So I don't know. Maybe he's just still in that system. I think the Warriors have a lot of weird things going on over there in terms of minutes. Like Klay, Klay's still getting minutes that he probably shouldn't be over Moses Moody. Kuminga's not getting enough burn. I don't think he's the right fit for that team. Honestly, side note, Golden State has been missing on their drafts lately. James Wiseman, huge miss. Jonathan Kuminga, this could possibly be a miss. They have a couple of young players, but I don't know. I don't know if Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga is worth it for Siakam, even though Wiggins was actually amazing last year. Would you do it?
Needs a first-round pick or something in there. I don't know. Kuminga. A couple years ago, we just said we would say Wiseman is a good player, just not the right fit in Golden State. And now we're doing the same thing with Kuminga. I don't really want their leftover parts for an all-star player. I feel like they can get more. A better young chip.
But that would be an incredible trade for Golden State. I think that's exactly what they would need to fit that little gap. And if they want to go small, Draymond could play 5, Siakam could play 4. Now, if you look at Kuminga's line right now, like last game he against the Clippers, he got 17 points, 6 boards, and for the year he's 11-3-1. So he just seems like a guy right now, right? Like, I don't know. Is he a starter? Probably not. Andrew Wiggins, on the other hand, he's had a bit of a lackluster year so far. Let's see his line right here.
Out of shape to start the year. Lost his magic, kind of back to pre-Golden State Andrew Wiggins. He's more just salary filler in this. I don't think the Raptors really, really want Wiggins that much.
Okay, so you know what? Let's just forget about this trade. This trade is a no.
Give him the X.
Give him the X.
No deal.
No deal. Yeah, we're not giving up Pascal for that nonsense.
Ain't no chumps.
You better stop that. You better stop that nonsense. Say it again, Andy.
Stop that nonsense. No deal.
Tell him once again.
Stop the nonsense. No deal.
One last time for good luck.
You better stop that nonsense. No deal.
No deal. All right, moving on.
Moving on. What I want to.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Let's talk one more thing on Raptors before we move on.
Yes.
Darko has promised the team he'll take them out for an all expenses paid dinner if the Raptors win 3 games in a row. They have yet to do that this year. Will this happen this year? And if so, what will this dinner look like?
Better be a nice dinner. They better be going to Jacob's or something, or Soto Drake's restaurant, because the Raptors have been so lackluster, average at best. Let's see the schedule right now. First of all, I like that idea. I think he should be taking them out to dinner before going on a run, and maybe that will potentially get them on a run, as opposed to, if you guys like, they can all afford dinner, all right, Darko? Like, let's chill out. So let's see their schedule for a second. Let's see what they can do.
Do you think Darko's one to splurge on a nice dinner, though, or is he going to take him to Boston Pizza?
Hey, Boston Pizza.
Which is nice.
The greatest chain restaurant of all time.
The GOAT.
The GOAT. For those that don't know, while Andy and I were in school, we both served and bartended at Boston Pizza on Dixon Road. Shout out to David Batt.
We sling those pies.
The absolute dog. All right, let's look at their schedule. We're playing the Heat. Sorry, the Raptors are playing the Heat tomorrow at 7:30.
Tough.
Raptors playing Hornets Friday.
There we go.
At Hornets. Then at Knicks on Monday. Hawks Wednesday, Friday. What? That's so strange, man. Back to back at home. Hawks at Raptors. Wednesday and Friday. That's strange.
Reducing travel. There's a few of those this year.
Ooh, Andy, this might be it.
What?
Hawks at Raptors Wednesday. Hawks at Raptors Friday. Hornets at Raptors Monday.
You think they're going to take both from the Hawks? I don't think they're getting that dinner then. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? We're never gonna get it all season then.
No.
Because I'm like, wait,
This is an empty promise. Hey, Alex, you know what? In the spirit of this, how about this? If the Raptors win 4 games in a row this year, I will take you and one of our subscribers out for an all-inclusive dinner, courtesy of Big Andy.
to where?
To the Boston Pizza Lounge.
Woo!
So well,
Boston Pizza Lounge. Honestly, the Boston Pizza Lounge has never missed once. Never missed a single time. No, I'm just looking through the schedule and it seems like it's gonna be impossible, man. Like Nuggets at Raptors, Raptors at 76ers, Jazz at Raptors. We could get that dub. Raptors at Wizards. That's 2 in a row. But then we play the Celtics, so that's an L.
I feel like Darko looked through this schedule and thought the same thing as us. Like, oh, I can just say this. I'm never paying.
I'm never paying. Okay, all right. That's just that's enough on the wait. Do you want to mention the other thing or do you want to do that after the in season?
Let's mention the other thing.
All right, go ahead.
The sports world is abuzz right now. Shohei Ohtani, rumors that the Jays are talking to him. Seems like there's a good chance Shohei could sign in Toronto. Got me thinking. This is probably, if it happens, the largest, biggest signing in Canadian sports history. Way bigger than any NHL or Raptors signing ever. How come the Raptors are never a big enough player as the Jays are? How come LeBron was never linked to the Raptors? KD was not really. People just like made up a thing about his childhood favorite team, but he never was.
You know, we have to do some research because I can't think off the top of my head. But who is the biggest signing that the Raptors have ever had? Signing, not a trade, right? We got Kawhi Leonard, but that was via trade.
I got one word.
Sorry?
One word for you. Ball. Hito Turkoglu, biggest signing in Raptors history.
That is weak. That is weak. All that guy did, no, I'm kidding. Hey, I like Hito Turkoglu. Let's not get crazy. But as the biggest signing in a team's history, that seems like it's not the best. Listen, you know me. I'm a Jays fan, of course, through and through. I've been a little bit off the Jays wagon for the last little bit because I don't know. It just seems like we've been disappointing for the last few seasons. The fact that like when you type this in, there are probably 50 reports off the top of my head. Sportsnet, Toronto Sun, CBS Sports, Jays Journal, Sports Illustrated, yeah, MLB.com, like latest news. So if this happens, this is the biggest signing. Of course, I think it has to be the biggest signing in Toronto sports history. We've never had anyone that good. And I think in terms of eyeballs, for example, we just re-signed Austin Matthews. So that's a big signing, but in terms of global scale, it's nothing compared to something like a Shohei Ohtani would do. Do you what are the possibilities of that happening though? Can you know baseball way better than me? What do you think?
10 to 15%. I don't know. It's a chance. The Jays are owned by Rogers, who has a ton of money, one of the richest, if not the richest team, which makes me think, why can't the Raptors, who are owned in part by Rogers and Bell, why can't they afford or bring in a huge dude?
Man, that would be incredible. Think about the buzz that would cause. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we got that out of the way. I agree with you. That would be insane if that happened. Our stadiums will be packed. Moving on. The in-season tournament has been a huge success. I've never seen crowds as crazy as they have been over the last few games. Yesterday, for example, I was watching the Indiana and Celtics game in Indiana, and the crowd was insane. It was low. There's no chance. First of all, I can't remember any time in the beginning of December where crowds were going as crazy as they were, unless it was like a double OT game or something. But I think this in-season tournament has gotten everyone's attention, and they've done a really good job. What are your thoughts overall?
No, I'm with you. We were both skeptical of it at first. We haven't really talked about it that much before the semifinals, really, or the quarterfinals. No, I was skeptical, but it's just something to play for when it's an 82 game season and there's nothing else to play for. It's a genius move. I could see the NHL copying this and other leagues. Baseball could copy this. It's trailblazing.
And it's funny because initially we were completely confused about the formatting of it and like what was actually happening. But all of these teams seem to care. Even, the teams that have players like Damian Lillard had a really good quote. And he was basically saying like, for himself, that 500 grand or 200,000 bucks, $500,000 goes to every player on the winning team and $200,000 goes to every player on the losing championship team. So everyone's getting money if you're in the finals. But he had a really good quote because he was like, that money doesn't make that big of a difference to people like myself or people that are 10, 15-year vets that are making insane money. But for some guys that are like scratching the surface of this roster that are on the team, $500,000 or 200 grand can make a huge difference in their lives. So when a superstar came out and said that, I think it got people's attention and it made them kind of switch on this tournament. And I feel like it's been really working. This game yesterday, Indiana Celtics, incredible game. Tyrese Halliburton, I heard somewhere that it was his first time. It was his first time on a TNT game, on a national game.
He drops his first career triple-double in that national game. That's crazy. Good for him. Clutch.
What else?
I feel like it's clearly Halliburton's coming out party. Speaking of him, he's just dominated this year in this in-season tournament. He is the best player so far. You critiqued his shot on our podcast about a month ago. Do you want to issue a public apology?
I'm not apologizing for. Listen, his shot might be the ugliest shot in the league. It's like a Sean Marion mixed with whatever, but it works. He hit 2 or 3 3-pointers yesterday that were just ridiculous, coming off of a weird screen, like reaching into the cookie jar, reaching into the basket.
Okay.
Like, it seems like when he's open, his form is fine, but when he's defended aggressively, his form kind of switches up, but he still hits those shots. What was his line yesterday? So it was 26, 13, and 10. Yeah, triple-double.
Ooh-wee.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is he a top 3 point guard in the league right now?
Top 3.
Yeah, top 3.
That's such a high number. Okay, in answering this, is he better than his old teammate, De'Aaron Fox?
Yes.
So do you think the Kings messed up by trading Halliburton instead of Fox?
I think the Kings have a solid little vibe going over there with Fox and Sabonis. So I don't necessarily think they messed up that badly. But looking at how he's playing right now, like it seems like he's really good. If you match them up against each other, let's see this. So Halliburton's line this season is, so he's 27 points a game, 12 assists a game. He's leading the league in assists, 4 rebounds a game. Now, if you look at the other team who was in the in-season tournament yesterday that actually lost, so the Kings lost to the Pelicans yesterday. Pelicans 127, Kings 117. De'Aaron Fox had a decent game, it seemed like, because he dropped 30, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, but he was -9. So, like, he was getting beat on offense. Like, defensively, he wasn't the best in yesterday's game. So that's a really good question. I think they're just good teams, good fits for both teams. So,
Sure.
but I still think Halliburton is better right now. They actually have the same record, 11-8.
There's a lot of nice guards. To call him top 3, there's a lot of nice guards. Shea Gilgeous. Dame? Is he better than Dame?
Right now, I put him over Dame. right now. I would, man. Dame doesn't play defense. Dame can play defense, but I think he likes to kind of keep his energy for the O because they need him much more on offense than they need him on defense. So I think he's better than Dame. Shai Gilgeous, Shai's better than him. Steph's better than him. Yeah. So I'd say what? Steph 1. Are we putting Luka into a point guard category?
I don't know. I think some people do, but I don't think of him as a point guard. He's like a do-all 3 to me.
A do-all 3. Interesting. Because if Luka's there, Luka's tied for first, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's been going off. But anyways, good conversation. Back to this game for a second, though. What did you think of the energy?
Oh, it was electric. Is that in part because these are young, hungry teams that haven't won a chip, like with these rosters? Like, would Bucks fans care as much as Pacers or Celtics or Pelicans fans?
It's a good question. I don't think they would, but we're gonna see what happens. When is it? Tomorrow? Hold on. Because the in-season this in-season tournament finishes off on Saturday. So then hold on, let me just pull this up.
Tonight is Lakers, and who are the Lakers playing?
Yeah, so Lakers Suns. So we'll see tonight. 2 veteran teams, Suns Lakers, playing it out tonight, as well as the Knicks versus the Bucks. So I think if LeBron wins something like this, it's just another thing to put on his mantle. He won the first ever in-season tournament. That'd be great. I think same thing with the Bucks. Giannis probably wants this. As long as they're competitive people on these teams, I think if
LeBron wins this, he's finally got something over MJ.
Finally something over MJ? That's a good one. So, yeah, it's going to be Pacers against either the Knicks or the Bucks, and then the Pelicans versus either the Suns or the Lakers.
Hey, let's talk the Pelicans, other winner last night.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk the Pellies. Strong game. That team, we talked like last week. We were talking about how deep this team is. They can just run 10 guys deep. And they all played good last night, except for one guy who was mid.
Okay.
Zion, not very good. And of note, Chuck called him out on national TV last night and said he's not in shape. He just relies on his talent. Do you agree with Chuck? Is that a little harsh to call him out on national TV?
But I agree, man. He looks like he's 20 pounds overweight for his position?
He's real tired all the time.
10 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, 4 turnovers, 0 for 2 from the line or from the 3, 5 for 8 field goals in 28 minutes. He has spurts where he's by far the most athletic person on the floor, by far. But then you're right, he looks tired a lot of the time. So
and has he added anything since he's joined the NBA? Doesn't have a shot. Just kind of puts his head down, goes to the lane. That's it. I don't know. Do you think, okay, let's play a game. Where will Zion be in 5 years from now? Will he be the same as he is now? Will he be a superstar? Will he be out of the league?
It's a tough question, man. I think he'll still be in the league. Absolutely.
It's not crazy to see out of the league, though.
Like in Europe, just slamming on everybody over there. No, I think he's gonna figure it out. He must figure it out at some point. Like, what is he averaging this year? He's still 23 a game, 5.8 boards, 5 assists. Like, he doesn't have a bad line this year. He's pretty good. But
his body's gonna break down on him. It has, and it will. He just plays that style.
That's what I mean. If you lose 20 pounds, he'll be fine. Even 10 pounds. Actually, I don't know. What is his weight at? Actually, let's check this out. Zion
I'm gonna guess
weight.
240 is my guess.
284 pounds.
Oh,
Zion is listed at 6'6", 284. That's absurd. Yeah, if he lost, but here's the thing: he won't be as dominant if he loses that much weight. right? Like if he loses 20 pounds, he'll be 264, which is fine, I guess.
He needs to develop something else. He's a very, very one-way game.
Maybe a step back, maybe a little jump shot. No, man, he's still playing pretty well this season, so I wouldn't count him out. He does need to get into slightly better shape, but 23, 6, and 5 is not a bad line. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching and listening to the Raptors NBA podcast. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, Raptors NBA podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Thanks for listening, everybody.